Good morning. This week's devotion is That's Not Our Job. The one thing that breaks my heart is when churches condemn one another. You're not really a church because. You're not good enough because. I imagine it breaks God's heart too to have his children fighting. Our gospel lesson for this week gives us some insight into this problem. Listen to Mark 9:38 through 41. John said to him, "Teacher, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him because he was not following us." But Jesus said, "Do not stop him, for no one who does a deed of power in my name will be able to soon afterward speak evil of me. Whoever is not against us is for us. For truly I tell you, whoever gives a cup of water to drink because you bear the name of Christ will by no means lose the reward." It's not our job to determine if some other church is doing the will of God or not. That's Jesus's job. This past week, I had the privilege to help lead worship for John Paul's dad's funeral. Their Southern Baptist preacher not only invited me to take part, but introduced me as the pastor of Woodforest Presbyterian Church in Houston. So, in a church that typically doesn't allow women in ministry, I was treated as another servant of Christ. And John Paul commented that now I can say I've led worship in a Southern Baptist church. I reminded him it wasn't my first time. Back in 1994 in Lewisburg, Tennessee, the Ministerial Association had noon worship services every Wednesday in Lent. Both I and the Catholic nun who served the small Catholic church in the town were invited to preach for these services. So I preached a sermon in a small town Southern Baptist church, less than a year out of seminary. So I know that we can get it right. We can love and accept each other as brothers and sisters in Christ, regardless of what denomination we belong to. But there are many times we fall short. In the same little church in rural Tennessee, the head pastor would put my name and the title of my sermon on the front sign whenever I was preaching. One of the more conservative denominations broadcast their service on the local radio station when we were driving home from church. Every time I preached, they proclaimed that all Presbyterians were going to hell because they let a woman speak in church. There is a lot of division in our world and in our nation today. There's a lot of finger pointing and condemnation. When you hear of another church doing something that you don't agree with, take a deep breath. Remember, we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And sometimes we're going to get things right, and sometimes we're going to get things wrong. It's not our place to judge their hearts. Only Jesus can do that. Remember, even if they have things wrong in this case, we've probably gotten things wrong in the past as well. If they are truly seeking to follow Jesus, then God is going to nudge them toward the right path. Jesus came because God so loved the world. We are called to spread love rather than sow dissension. We are to lead others to Jesus with our examples of Christ-like living. If we harass and condemn, then we're no better than the Pharisees that argued with Jesus. Yes, this passage does go on to condemn those who lead little ones astray. But note that it is Jesus doing the condemning, not the disciples. We are called to love our neighbors, to love our enemy, and to do our best to follow and be an example of Christ. That is what will help turn others around and bring them back to God. Have a blessed week.